Welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Dialogues, the show where I dialogue about dungeons and or dragons. I'm your host, Sam, and thanks so much for joining. In this series, we talk about everything D&D. We'll interview players, talk about how to play the game, build characters, and most importantly, have fun. Before we get into it, I wanted to say thank you to Dice Envy. Check out our affiliate link down below for some sick-ass dice. Also, check out our Patreon, Instagram, and podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can click on any of the links below or just search the Bottlecap Brigade. Also, if you're not doing anything on Thursdays around 6:45 Mountain Standard Time, be sure to check out the Bottlecap Brigade's live stream. Lastly, if you'd like to like and subscribe, we'd really appreciate it. Viewers like you help us make more of this content, and that makes us really happy. Let's begin. Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of Dungeons and Dialogues. Today we're going to be chatting a little bit about bards. I feel like bards traditionally have gotten a lot of heat, not necessarily for any good reason. I think bards are a great class. I think they're fun to roleplay. I think they're fun to drive engagement with the rest of the party. And I think as a DM, you can really use bards as leverage to make sure everyone stays engaged. I know in the Bottlecap Brigade, Taylor Hawker plays Togu, which is a great bardic build. I think I posted a link about it, but Austin makes him sing all the time. It's hilarious. It makes for great content overall. So anyway, I'm here to kind of debunk both the fact that bards can be a weak character. I don't really think that that's true. They have a really good balance between like fighting ability as well as spell casting ability, and you can really be a team player to help make sure that everyone else is able to control the battlefield, as well as to make sure that they don't die, which is pretty important. So as is tradition, we're going to cover 4 things today. We're going to pick race, which with bards is super duper important. It's more important than a lot of different classes, so we're going to really hone in on that a little bit. We're going to cover Bardic Colleges. Now with Bardic Colleges, there's a lot of different options, especially with all the expansions and stuff that are available. I'm really going to pick my 2 favorites here, and we're going to cover the best way to make a super creepy, super ominous bard, which I think is a really fun build. Then we're going to talk about the skills, abilities, and backgrounds for your bardic pick. There's a lot of options here too. There's some that are must-haves, but I think that as far as, especially with backgrounds, you can kind of pick your flavor and make it something that's fun. And then as per usual, feats. Also, as an aside, in each one of these guides, I'm going to say there is no absolute best way to make any character. These are just my recommendations and things that I think are super fun. Do your own research, read through the player's handbook. Also down below, check out the Bottlecap Brigade, like and subscribe. We definitely appreciate it. We just passed 500 subs really recently, which is exciting. Hopefully here soon we can kind of diversify and start making even more fun content in addition to our weekly stream. That'd be really fun. Okay, so let's talk about race. So to preface this, bards use charisma as both their spellcasting focus and as a roleplay safeguard as a frontman for the party. With keeping that in mind, the 2 really important abilities here are charisma and dexterity. Having a really witty persona, as well as an ability to get out of the way and not take too much damage, is important as a bard to stay alive and to keep your party out of trouble. Constitution is a really good 3rd pick as an ability. It's important to really make sure that you're not taking up all your cleric's time and avoid just being a punching bag overall. It sucks to be that guy in the party that dies all the time. The rest kind of depends on your personal preference, strength, wisdom, intelligence. You kind of take a pick. So, as another aside, for all of these guides, human variant is a great pick. Ask your DM before you take it. Not all DMs allow them because they're kind of broken. They allow a feat as well as a bump to 2 different abilities. So just ask your DM, but I'm going to cover it anyway just because I think it's important. So the first choice as far as races go is a half-elf. Half-elf is kind of a predictable first pick. You get 4 free ability points, which is a lot. 2 go to charisma, and 2 you can allocate probably either to dexterity or constitution. You get dark vision by default as well as fey ancestry, which is awesome. You get an extra language as well as 2 additional proficiencies, both very important. And overall, it's just a really good technical pick for a bard. I think it's a fun just kind of way to epitomize what a bard kind of seems to be in the D&D world as a half-elf. The second pick here is Asimir. I think Asimir is great. Another really kind of alternative to this on the darker side is Tieflings. But as far as a technical pick, I think Asimir's kind of win over Tieflings just because they have Celestial Legacy. You get a few healing buffs at the start as an Asimir, which is really nice, especially for low level to make sure your party doesn't get TPK'd. But statistically, Asimir and Tiefling, same thing. If you want to kind of have a darker vibe, go with a tiefling, it can be kind of a demon. If you want to be a little bit more godlike and pretentious, Asimir is a great choice. Third on this, and a really weird pick, is Dragonborn. I personally love the Dragonborn archetype. I think there's something about their role in Faerun and the world of D&D overall is really, really exciting and really interesting to me. And most people wouldn't pick Dragonborn as a bard. If you want to both explore some new options as far as a bard and be a bard that can actually pack a bit of a punch, I think a Dragonborn is a great pick for it. All right, let's move on to Bardic Colleges. I made a bit of a tough choice here, and I cut one of the more popular Bardic Colleges out of this list. Most players honestly will pick the College of Lore, which isn't a bad choice at all, in my opinion. I just think it's a bit overdone, so I'm gonna kind of diversify here. So we're gonna talk about the College of Whispers, and I can't ignore the College of Valor. I think they have a really nice dichotomy between the two of them. So let's talk about College of Whispers. I think this is a really cool subclass, and I think it's really unique for a bard and also kind of the concept of the bard. If you think about like The Witcher with Dandelion, right? He's a loud, jovial, life of the party kind of musician that embodies passion and embodies love and all that. If you want to kind of break away from that trope and be something creepy, College of Whispers is going to be your best pick. You can use Psychic Blades early on, which makes you a bit of a threat to enemies. Words of Terror is a really great roleplay mechanic in battle, and it can make you kind of be able to control the field a little bit better. And Dissonant Whispers as an addition to that is great. I think the subclass scales super well. You get Mantle of Whispers at level 6, which essentially turns you into a doppelganger and is horrifying. And then Shadow Lore at level 14 is really, really unsettling. I really don't like the thought of that entering my life in real life. So in a D&D campaign, it makes it really fun. Next up, and really briefly, is College of Valor. I'm not gonna spend really much time on this at all. I think College of Valor is a great class. Again, just overplayed. But if you wanna get really up and close with your enemies, be a bit of a damage dealer and be a bit of a melee attacker, you get to wear medium armor in this, which is nice. And you get to be a team support. You get to add Bardic Inspiration and do all the things that a bard gets to do. All right, let's talk about abilities, skills, spells, and backgrounds a little bit. I personally think that every party needs a bard. Most bards should have to sing. I think a DM should require bards to sing. It's just fun, right? And I think the skills, abilities, backgrounds you pick for your bard really can give life to the character. It's fun for RPing, it's fun to add a little cherry on top of sessions, and it's fun, like I said earlier, to just drive engagement for everyone else. So starting with spells, and kind of focusing on the College of Whispers as we build this archetype out a little bit, I think Dissonant Whispers at first level is a must here. If you use Dissonant Whispers wisely, you can sneak in an additional 3d6 damage at really, really early levels, which is a lot of hit points. 2, if you can send your enemies walking through your friend's area of attack for opportunity attacks, that is awesome. I mean, you can stack damage over and over and over again just by sending them through your friend's radius by using Dissonant Whispers and scaring them away a little bit. Mantle of Whispers is going to be really important too. I'm going to read kind of directly from the player's handbook on this because I think that Dissonant Whispers and Mantle of Whispers are both very, very important in conjunction with each other. So from PHP, at 6th level, you gain the ability to adopt a humanoid's persona. When a humanoid dies within 30 feet of you, you can magically capture its shadow using your reaction. You retain the shadow until you use it or finish a long rest. I can't read. You can use this shadow as an action. When you do so, it vanishes, magically transforming into a disguise that appears on you. You now look like the dead person, but healthy and alive. This disguise lasts for 1 hour or until you end it as a bonus action. Super creepy, right? Super useful all the time. I love that. All right, next up is Suggestion, and then later on Mass Suggestion. You're effectively incapacitating enemies and forcing them to do your bidding. Even if you think bards are weak in general, they're not super weak when they're controlling a displacer beast. So that's just a really, really awesome thing to be able to do. Leomund's Tiny Hut is next. I absolutely love Leomund's Tiny Hut. You essentially build a little building and all your friends can get in it. It saves you from taking damage or whatever. It's just a really fun gameplay mechanic. I recommend everyone take this. Invisibility is really important. You can't be seen when you're invisible. You can't take damage as readily. It's important. You're squishy in general. Take invisibility. Raise Dead is awesome. D&D is a really scary place. A lot of people die all the time. If you're able to raise dead, it makes it a little bit less scary. Wish Down the road, it's kind of an end game thing. I think Wish is an awesome pick, and it's an ass saver for sure. Overall, there's a lot of spells. Bards have a lot of spells available to them. All spellcasters do. I personally recommend all the ones that I just said for sure, but do your research, read up on what's available to you, and make sure you're picking for your class and picking for your persona. I think that's really important. But you should always take Eldritch Blast as a cantrip. Just do it. Last, definitely not least, let's talk about feats. First, we're going to talk about Warcaster. I think Warcaster is a great addition to you as a bard. Early on, it gives you advantage on Constitution saves, but it'll also let you cast spell as an opportunity attack. Now, with some bards, your melee damage isn't going to be that high, so being able to use something like Eldritch Blast as an attack of opportunity is important to be able to actually put out some damage and help your party in that regard. So again, harking back, Dissonant Whispers gives you an attack of opportunity as the enemy leaves your space. You get to use Eldritch Blast, which does a solid amount of damage, and also send that enemy within 5 feet of some of your friends. That just really lets you stack attack on attack on attack, and really just overall do quite a bit of damage to one enemy in one turn. Second, I think Inspiring Leader is important. It's really good to be able to make your party a little bit less squishy before a boss battle, and just if for some reason your party doesn't roll very well for all your stats, you have an ability to make up for some of that with Inspiring Leader. Last is Actor. I think Actor's awesome, especially with Mantle of Whispers. It gives you advantage. It makes role-playing a little bit easier, and I think it's just a really good fit for any sort of bard. As an aside to Lucky, as a feat, just pick Lucky. It makes sense. Do it. All right, and then kind of at the end of this, I wanted to talk a little bit about multi-classing. I think multi-classing with a bard is a really cool idea. Once you get to 7th or 8th level, as far as putting points into bard, you can kind of diversify from that and get interesting. Now, cleric is kind of the standard thing to do with that. I think we all understand that having points in a cleric is great. You get to heal your party and really help your party. But I'd like to make the case that you should put a couple points into warlock. If you take College of Whispers as your bardic build, like I said, get to 7th or 8th level, and then go ahead and put 3 points into warlock. So once you hit level 10, you would have 7 levels in bard, 3 points in warlock. What that'll let you do as a 3rd level warlock is use the Tome of the Old Gods if you choose it. That lets you cast all sorts of spells. It gives you a really good, interesting set of bonuses. And just overall for a bard to be also a creepy warlock that's tied to like Cthulhu or something, I think that's a fascinating idea, and I think probably for my next build, I might actually go with that. It sounds like fun. So again, thank you so much for watching. That was literally everything you're ever going to need to know about bards. Once again, don't look anywhere else for content. Please, this is all you need to know ever. I'm just kidding. Read the handbook, read Xanathar's guide, read everything that you ever can about this before you dig your heels into it. I think bards are a super fun class. It can be super strong, especially if you like being a bit boisterous and like being the front face of your party. It's super fun. Just make sure to be really mindful of what you're picking. Also, down below, once again, like and subscribe. We love all the support that we can get. I hope everyone's staying safe and healthy throughout this quarantine. It's a weird time to be doing anything, but at least you can maybe play some D&D and build some characters and have some fun with it. So look for a couple more guides here coming soon. Don't have too much fun. Stay safe, play D&D. Love you, bye. And then as per usual, feats, really large. Constitution is a really good 3rd pick as an ability. God damn it. No, just cut that. I think Dissonant Whispers at 4, fuck. You can sneak in an edit. With your bard at 7th or 8th level, I think multi-classing to a cleric is really smart. Even if you take the College of Shadows, fuck all that, fuck that.
Well, he looks like 2 8-balls on a square scroll.